Am I the antagonist for telling my parent I don't tell them everything because they tell their partner everything? I, 16 female, have always had some problems. I showed early signs of mental illness when I was still in grade school, and when I lost my dad, it compounded everything. I was diagnosed with major depressive disorder and panic disorder. My mental health improved over time, and I medicated, which helps me too. I attend therapy when I need to, and I have a psychiatrist who helps with medications and any other treatments that might be needed. I was always pretty open with my mom, and she was always good with not telling people stuff that I wanted time with or wanted to keep between us. Except when she remarried. I was 11 when she remarried, and she hid nothing from her husband. This was something I didn't really like, and when I talked to mom about it, she told me that's just how it was going to be. Because keeping stuff from your spouse is the way to ruin your marriage. She told me I never would have minded dad knowing, and I told her it was because he was my dad. But Frank, her husband, isn't, and I don't want him to know everything about me. Mom told me that's just how it would be. So I would tell my mom stuff still, but not everything. Anything I really want to keep between me and just the person I choose to tell, I don't tell my mom anymore. And she knows this. She figured it out a while ago. But then a few months ago I had something else going on, something that was a lot to handle, and I was talking to my therapist and working through it with them. My mom figured some stuff out, but she told me she wanted me to tell her, and I told her I didn't want to tell her. She told me I could tell her and I should trust her enough to tell her anything important going on. I said telling her means telling Frank, and I didn't want that. She asked me why it was such a big deal, and I told her because Frank isn't as important to me as he is to her, and he's not my dad or a stand-in for him. I ended up talking to my grandparents about the thing going on because my therapist suggested I have someone else to talk to. They're the people I trust most now for this kind of thing, and they were stepping up their supportiveness of me and spoiling me a little, which made mom realize I must have told them. This was last week. She confronted me and asked me again why I no longer tell her everything, and I told her I don't tell her everything because she tells her husband everything, and that's not what I want. Mom said I was being really unfair. I told her I was respecting her right to tell him everything, but that means anything I don't want him to know, she doesn't need to know. Am I the asshole? You are not being unreasonable for wanting to keep certain things private from your mom's husband, especially considering your history and the importance of trust in your relationship with your therapist and grandparents. It's understandable that you value your privacy and boundaries, and it's important for your mom to respect that. Am I the antagonist for serving only vegan food at our wedding welcome party? I, 28 years old female, and my 32 years old male fiancé are getting married in a month. We opted to have a cabin-style wedding and are providing food for our guests throughout the weekend. From the beginning, my side of the family was very insistent about having a non-vegan options. As a result, we wound up having one non-vegan option available for all wedding attendees, except our welcome party. This wasn't 100% intentional, but my fiancé and I both just liked different vegan options and wanted to have both, and adding a third choice was going to be expensive. Today I gave my mom, 61 years old female, a heads up that the welcome party would be all vegan, and that people in our family may want to plan accordingly or try to grab some food on their way to the venue if they were not wanting to eat either of the vegan options. She asked why we couldn't add a third option for non-vegans, to which I explained it was expensive, and that we would also appreciate it if one of our wedding events was all vegan, since we really would have preferred to do a totally vegan wedding anyways. She then said that we were being rude, unaccommodating, and inconsiderate of others. She also tried to say that it was like if I was forced to eat meat. As an additional note, my mom did say she would be willing to pay for a non-vegan option to be added, to which I said I would consider it, even though this would add another layer of work for me coordinating a new dish with the caterer and getting a new proposal sent over from them, etc. For additional context, my side of the family, also known as my mom's family, all RSVP'd late, kept going back and forth on if people were bringing their partner's spouses, and generally struggled to give us any concrete information on the exact number of people who were coming from each family. My fiancé and I have been super frustrated by this, as it has made us delay giving exact numbers to the caterer, ordering signage, etc. However, I continued to be accommodating and just have people let me know as they figure it out since they're family. So, am I the a-hole for not wanting to add a non-vegan option to the welcome party? It seems like you and your fiancé have put a lot of thought and effort into planning a wedding that reflects your values and preferences. Your mom's reaction may stem from a difference in perspective, but ultimately, it's your special day, and it's okay to prioritize what aligns with your vision, especially considering the complexities of catering for a large event. It's great that you're open to considering her offer to cover the cost of an additional non-vegan option, but remember that it's ultimately your decision to make. Good luck with the rest of your wedding planning. Am I the antagonist for disinviting my mom from an event because she read my journal? I am new to Reddit, so please bear with me. My mom and I, 19 years old, have been having conflicts for the last couple of months since I broke up with my ex-boyfriend of 5 years. She was very attached to him and saw him as a son. Well, me being single, I started going out with friends to hang out and party. My mom has always been strict, which results in me being a very sneaky child who lies about a lot of things out of fear of judgment or her telling me no. Thought I'd provide some context, so here's the story. I went to a party a couple of days ago, and when I got home the next morning, my mom came up to me and asked why I was upset. I was upset because she had been non-stop calling me while I was at the party. I ignored her and she said, "Why don't you ask me why I'm upset?" I continued to ignore her. She then said, "I know something happened at that party, different party I went to where I smoked drank, and are you sure you didn't leave Willem, my ex, for someone else?" I didn't leave my ex for someone else. I then got to thinking maybe she saw something on my phone, and then it clicked. She probably read my journal the night I was at the party. I proceeded to ask my brother if he knew anything about it, and he was hesitant but finally told me what happened. My mom read my journal, which contained very personal feelings and events that had occurred in my life. As my brother told me more, I was in shock, because how could you read something so personal about someone out of pure nosiness? I proceeded to walk upstairs where my mom and dad were talking, and I yelled, "You read my journal?" Her response, trying to look confused and responding with, "It just fell onto the floor, and I saw what it said. This journal was on a bookshelf tucked between books. It didn't just fall out." I continued yelling at her, saying how messed up it was. I'll summarize some things I said. "I would have told you everything that journal said if I felt like I could, but I can't talk to you. I'm moving out, I'm done. Why would you do that? And lastly, don't come to my event tomorrow. This event is for school. It's a baking showcase of things I've been prepping for a few weeks now. I invited friends and family, and it's basically just to show everything I've learned in school. I'm graduating with my associates in culinary arts." I left shortly after I said that and went to my brother's house. Showed back up to my house a few hours later with boxes ready to pack my stuff. As I was leaving, my dad said, "I know this is devastating, but you should reconsider disinviting your mom. She's going to be devastated for the rest of her life if she doesn't go to your event tomorrow." So Reddit, am I the asshole for disinviting my mom from my event because she read my journal? It sounds like you were hurt and upset by your mom reading your journal, which contained personal thoughts and feelings. Your reaction of disinviting her from your event was a way to set boundaries and express your hurt feelings, but it may be worth considering your dad's perspective on the long-term effects on your relationship with your mom. Am I the antagonist for misinterpreting my friend as being mad? I would like to put some context before I begin. I live in a country that speaks many dialects. Recently I had this friend, let's call them Wendy's, in a friend group which one would say is a nonchalant type of person. We only met for 2 years and only had been close for 6 months at best. I do love their nonchalant personality, but sometimes it can be quite difficult to distinguish from sarcasm, information, or any type of personality. The problem started a few hours ago where me and a few of my friends are talking about a graduation ball that was happening. Another friend of ours told me that one of hair piece of a costume was perfect for the theme. I told them it very much did. That same friend sarcastically said I would wear a wig to that event. The friend was talking about a costume wig, the colorful ones. Now Wendy replied with "EG, and who wears that kind of wig to a graduation ball?" They meant who wears a colorful wig to a ball that's not costume themed. Now this is the part where it gets a bit confusing. I replied to Wendy saying no. When I said no, I wasn't trying to disagree with them. In fact, I was agreeing with them. It's not the English no, but an agreeing exclamation in my language. That's just how I spell it. Wendy probably misinterpreted this because they then replied, "Why would I agree on something like this?" I then tried to clear things out by saying that I didn't disagree with them, but in fact agreed. They then argued back saying if I were to agree on something I would say no, adding "Are you okay?" and nice vocabulary. I didn't want to say things anymore caused to me. It seemed like they were mad, so I just said fine. I'll say right next time, and why are you mad at such small things? Kind of a bad move TBH. Turns out they weren't mad and were just clarifying. I feel like I wasn't in the wrong since I am confused on the way they texted. It was literally like someone was mad at you, but in the same time I feel like I am in the wrong since I shouldn't have said so much gibberish in the first place. TBH, I don't know what to say nor do. I want to be friends with them because I enjoy their company, but it seemed like I'm already making an enemy of them. Am I the antagonist? I can clarify things if there's questions. I don't really know how to put other informations here. It seems like there was a miscommunication based on language nuances, leading to a misunderstanding between you and Wendy. Clearing the air with a direct conversation about the cultural differences in expression could help bridge this gap and prevent future confusion, fostering a stronger friendship. Would I be the asshole for taking my aunt to small claims court? So I, a 26-year-old female, had a nice car that I bought myself. It was in pristine condition and had lowish mileage for a used car. I had the car for about 7-8 months and my aunt, a 38-year-old female, asked me to borrow it for the weekend because her car was in the shop. Sunday comes and I call her. She says her car is still in the shop and she needs my car until Tuesday. I then couldn't get a hold of her after Tuesday. I heard later that she didn't pay to get her car fixed and she stopped paying her car payments and they repossessed it. She lives over an hour away and is constantly driving up and down the road almost every day. Fast forward, she's had my car for 7 months. I ask her if she wants to buy my car. We agreed on a price. She said yes. And at the 1-year mark of her having it, she would have enough money to pay me for it. Until then, the car would stay in my name and I didn't give her the title. I also mentioned to her that I bought the yearly tag this year, but next year, she would need to, since the car is only mine in name. I also told her that I didn't want to keep paying for car insurance on a car I don't drive. She gave me her sob story of no one ever helps me, and that it's so hard to get by, and a bunch of other, what sounds like, excuses to not want to pay. My family and my grandma, her mom, all help her out a lot, so I was calling BS in my head. I lowered the plan from full coverage to the lowest premium they had. The 1-year mark came and I've heard nothing from her. Later on in the months, I heard that she didn't get the money she was counting on because she didn't do anything on her part. Since then, she's borrowed more money from me for her rent, light bills, and other miscellaneous things which I have on record. Damage to the car includes, to my knowledge, hit a deer which busted the hood and the right front light, replaced, had one of the windows of the car smashed out, replaced, hit another deer which messed the hood up even worse, and took out the left front light, replaced, but the hood is horrendous. All of the lights are flashing on the dashboard in a way I've never seen before, and the interior is destroyed, I'm guessing from my younger cousins. I'm trying to be patient and understanding with her because she's trying to make it, but when she keeps accumulating debt and never pays you back, it gets kind of frustrating. And if you don't help her once, she'll go off saying that no one ever tries to help her, or that she's all alone trying to take care of the kids. Back to the title, it's been almost 2.5 years since she's borrowed my car, and I get sad every time I see the deteriorated version of the car I once loved. I've mentioned to sue for my money, only to be asked if I'd really take the car and leave them all stranded an hour away. However, I don't want my car back at this point, because she's run up the mileage and destroyed it. I just want the money she agreed to buy it from me for. So, would I be the asshole for taking her to court over this? It sounds like you've been incredibly patient and generous in this situation, but it's completely understandable to feel frustrated and taken advantage of. Taking legal action to recoup what is rightfully yours is a reasonable step to take after exhausting other options to resolve the issue. Just remember to approach the situation with a level head and seek the compensation you deserve for your car. Would I be the asshole if I had a quinceanera partially knowing my sister would be upset? To fully explain the situation, my sister and I are only half Hispanic, and we barely know anything about our culture. We were never taught Spanish due to our grandmother being punished for speaking Spanish in Catholic Church, and we decided that wasn't what she wanted for her family. I've wanted to explore and feel connected to my culture for the longest time, and I feel like my only chance would be to have a quinceanera. My family isn't the wealthiest, and we recently recovered from a financial conflict. Due to this, I've asked for a downgraded version so we don't have to break the bank for a 3-hour event. During this time, I considered how my sister would feel about me having a quince, as she never received one. My mother told me that she would be fine, and I believed her. Here's where the issue arises. My sister, I'll call her Jane, is 2 years older than me. I was born in October, her in November. When Jane heard about my parents and I discussing my birthday, she became upset. My mom informed me that when Jane came home from school, she was very emotional. She started crying, claiming this is favoritism and how she never gets anything special, even though my mom asked her what she wanted to do for her 15th birthday. Jane continued sobbing, saying she should have just given her one and all my friends are having one. The only friend who's ever had quince came from a very traditional Hispanic household who probably forced her to have a quinceanera anyway. My mom told her this, and even if she had asked for one, we wouldn't have been able to afford it. She even offered a big birthday party for Jane this year, but she declined, saying it wouldn't be as special, and went to her room. I will say that I am relatively spoiled, and I haven't treated Jane the greatest. However, we are still given as much as possible. As if it couldn't get any worse, the only date available for the venue my parent chose happens to fall on Jane's birth date. I instantly became upset. I knew Jane would freak out if she had to share her birthday with me, and I've never felt so guilty. Now there's a possibility that the date a week prior could open up, but the chances are slim. My mom suggested having both mine and Jane's party there, but at different times since we have the venue for the whole day, and all the family would be there, but I'm unsure. Taking a day meant for her would be extremely cruel knowing how sensitive Jane is. I'm not sure what to do, and I feel horrible. So, would I be the asshole? It sounds like you genuinely want to connect with your culture through a quinceanera, but the situation with your sister's feelings is definitely tricky. Considering her perspective and finding a compromise that respects both of your birthdays and emotions might be the best way to handle this delicate situation without being perceived as insensitive or selfish. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.